Oh, here goes, and welcome to the 98th episode of Throwback Hoops. Woody V is in the house. Please follow the show on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. We appreciate everyone's ongoing support. And as always, I'm joined by my main man, Robbie Clayton. What's up, Doug?
What's up, Woods? Great to be back, mate. Very warm day in Sydney, as the next few are going to be, so apologies for this kind of annoying fan above me, but it's either that or I sweat my way through the show, so hopefully it's not too distracting anyway.
Yeah, it is really hot, man. I think we're in for a hot summer as well, aren't we?
Yeah, I think so. They're saying 43, I think, in where we are sort of on Saturday, so given we're like just in 1 week into summer, it's a brutal one ahead, I think.
Yeah, looking forward to a day in the field playing cricket then, mate.
Yeah, good luck with that. I'll be inside in the air conditioning.
All right, let's get into it then, shall we, man? So a bit of a Philadelphia 76ers team today, I see. Yeah. Why don't you get into it with us and tell us a little bit about that? Yeah?
I know you're not big on knowing people from numbers, so I'm wondering if you know these two yet, so I'll talk a little bit about them. I don't think you do, right? But
no.
Anyway, let's get up into them. So, well, the one I'm hanging behind me, it's a couple of old school champion jerseys today with some connections to the Seattle Sonics. So the one I'm hanging behind me today is an Eric Snow Black 76ers jersey. So I know you're liking that one. We had some feedback last week, like Keon Clark, where did that come from? So I thought I'd continue that theme with a bit of Eric Snow. So a little bit on Snow. I played 14 seasons in the NBA after getting drafted out of Michigan State by the Bucks at pick 43 in the 95 draft. Traded on draft night to the Sonics and went on to play with the Sonics, 76ers and Cavs. Certainly known as a defender, he made one all-defensive team in 2003. Now 50 years old. He always looked young, I thought, Eric Snow, but yeah, now 50. He's had a number of college assistant coaching roles since retiring. What are your memories on Mr. Snow there, Woods?
I loved him on those Philly teams, man. You know, that's what I remember most, right? With AI and Dikembe and I think Thaddeus Young as well together on the same team, right? Like, I just remember him being like a great game manager, someone who made the right decisions, made the right basketball play. If I'm not mistaken, he's been doing some work with Overtime Elite. Did we see him on that documentary briefly?
Yeah, not sure.
Yeah, maybe. I've seen him recently on a documentary somewhere. But
he's certainly involved in coaching, so yeah, he could have popped up on something like that. So
yeah, big fan though. Really enjoyed his game.
Did you know I had an Eric Snow jersey?
No, I don't think I did. No.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I'll continue. A very obscure one here. Very, very rare one, this one. So not as obscure a player, but the one I'm rocking today. In fact, I'll stand up and show you so you can see the name on the back, and I'll talk a bit about this guy, right?
And Robbie's wearing the number 33 Philadelphia Sixers Hersey Hawkins jersey. Love me some Hersey, man.
I know you're liking this one, right?
Yeah.
Funny story about this, Woods. I planned to wear this one today. You know, I'm normally pretty organised in my various jersey wardrobes. I could not find this one. I'm like, am I tripping? Did I not get this? And eventually found it was kind of squashed behind another one. But really liking this jersey. I've got the same Sean Bradley in exactly the same style there. Yeah. So a little bit about Hersey Hawkins. As I mentioned, this is a red 76ers champion jersey. He played 13 seasons in the NBA after getting drafted out of Bradley at pick 6 in the 88 draft by the Clippers. He was also traded on draft night, being sent to the 76ers. Went on to play with Philly, Charlotte, Seattle, and Chicago. So don't quite remember him with Chicago towards the end, but anyway. He was an All-Star, one-time All-Star in 1991 as a member of the Sixers. Also had a great collegiate career where he's in the College Basketball Hall of Fame. So he's currently 57 years of age and works in the Portland Trail Blazers front office. So interesting fact about both these guys, Woods, they both won NBA Sportsmanship Awards. So Hawkins won it in 99, Eric Snow won it the next year in 2000. Right. So yeah, I know you're a big fan of the Hawk there, Woods. So what were your thoughts on this guy?
Obviously that finals run with Sean Kemp, Detlef Schrempf, Gary Payton, they provided a really great nucleus there, right? So I remember most fondly with his time in Seattle, man, and just some guy who could just get a bucket, man. You know, in those early careers, he was a 20-point per game scorer, and then he changed his game a little bit when he went into Seattle, and he was able to just fit into more of a role, right? And I remember his scoring averages dropped a little bit when he went to Seattle from Philly, right? But he was still able to contribute to that team, and he fitted in nicely with those other guys I just mentioned, right?
No, 100%. I guess it's good to have that one-time All-Star in his resume as well, which is pretty cool there. So, yeah, as I said, still involved in the game. He's in the some sort of office role there there with the Portland Trailblazers, so still very much amongst it there. So, that's my trip down memory lane with these Philly ones.
Two great choices, man.
Yeah, nice. I'm glad you like them. And, tell us what you got today. So you're rocking some Bulls gear.
Yeah, man, we're going to talk about the Bulls later, so I thought wear the Bulls hat, and you like this one.
Sounds good. So the Woods are standing up wearing the Bulls number 1. Nice Derrick Rose jersey. Nice one there, Woods. I'm liking that you've got Hawks pants on though, Woods. You didn't complain about the Hawks pants.
Got the Hawks pants on.
Nice jersey. And someone that's still involved in the league, right?
Yeah, 15 years in the league, man. And despite various different injuries over the year, his longevity has been amazing. He's been able to rediscover himself, much like a Vince Carter did late in his career. First overall pick in the 2008 draft, selected by Chicago, and he's obviously from Chicago, which was really a great thing that he got to play for his home city, and obviously 8 years at Chicago, 2 stints at the New York Knicks, Cleveland Cavaliers, Minnesota Timberwolves, Detroit Pistons, and currently due to the raft of injuries and people being out for Memphis, he's actually playing a role, right? So, one-time most valuable player in 2011, 3-time NBA All-Star, All-NBA First-Teamer in 2011, NBA Rookie of the Year 2009, NBA All-Rookie First Team in 2009, McDonald's All-American, man. So, he's going to go down in folklore and end up in the Hall of Fame, I would say. Is that fair to say? Or am I stretching that a bit? Am I stretching that a bit?
It was one of those ones I was going to ask you as soon as I saw you wearing that. He's going to be that ultimate debate, I think. I don't think there's been... can correct me if I'm wrong. Someone can fact check me. There hasn't been a lot of people that have won MVPs that haven't made the Hall of Fame. He's going to be the first one that comes really close, I think. I think the longevity might come into play. He's obviously bouncing around now. It's funny, I forgot that he played with Minnesota when you mentioned that before. I remember the run with Detroit and everything. It will be interesting to see, I think. It's very admirable that he's continued to play and carve out a different role in the second half of his career. But, yeah, I mean, if you would have been asked that question, when he was having that MVP season, he was just a highlight reel, wasn't he? Just some of the stuff he did, those runs with Chicago. You would have said he's an absolute lock for Hall of Fame, but I think he's going to be an interesting case. This will be one to kind of watch this space when he retires there. But, it was fun those first few years. I'm just sort of picturing him, knifing through the paint and sort of twisting his body. He was super athletic. And it was that era of some really great point guards, wasn't it? Sort of those early, 2010s and stuff like that. So, was someone I definitely liked back in the day, and it's a good one to rock today. Yeah,
definitely. And we're Chicago Bulls team, so I thought let's rock some Chicago gear today, right? And my wife liked this hat, so
sure. Well, I've got a Rose Chicago Bulls jersey as well, but mine's a Jalen Rose one.
So sick! I've never worn this before, actually. Nice. Actually, shout out to Matt Beatros. He sent us a question today, fan of the show, and I got a haircut from him the other day. He's got jerseys all over his barbershop, and he's like, "Woods, man, I've never been able to get my hands on a Derrick Rose jersey." So Matt, I'm gonna give you this jersey, man. I'm gonna give it to you.
Very kind of it. Nice.
When I see you next, man, this jersey's yours. Only worn once, right? So let's get into it then, shall we, Ben?
Sounds good, bro. Let's do it.
All right. I want to talk about the in-season tournament so far. You been keeping an eye on things?
Yeah, I have. It's an interesting one. I wasn't quite sure how I felt about it at the start of the season. I think maybe like a lot of people, it was a little bit confusing. Are these games counting? Is everything else like that? But I've got to say, I think it's been pretty successful, Woods. I'll obviously get your thoughts in a bit. But, it's certainly generated a lot of buzz around the league. I like the idea with the different courts. I think it's good that you can sort of tune into a game and you know straight away that it's an in-season tournament game, right? There's no confusion. Is this an in-season tournament or a normal game there? You know straight away with some of these wacky court designs they've got. Obviously, we've got some semi-finals coming up. The Bucks playing the Pacers and Pels and Lakers. So, looking forward to follow those. It's been interesting with some less game days this week, hasn't there? A few sort of days off and short games. But I know you'll give your thoughts. But for me, I'm really hoping the underdog Pacers win it. Obviously, the Pels are a bit of an underdog as well. But I'll be cheering on the Pacers, I think. But what are your thoughts, man, on it?
Well, let's just quickly get into the results. I know you mentioned a few, but the Pacers played the Celtics in the first quarterfinal. You just mentioned the Pacers went through, and then the Bucks played the New York Knicks. In the other bracket, and so it's going to be Pacers versus Bucks, and then the Pelicans beat the Sacramento Kings, and the Lakers beat the Suns. So you got the Lakers and the Pelicans on one side of the draw, and the Bucks and the Pacers on the other side of the draw.
Hey, what's your over and under for that Bucks and Pacers game? Like 300?
Ooh.
It's got to be pushing 300, I reckon, for a game like that. I mean, both teams don't play any D, and that's going to be a high-scoring, fun game to watch, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Your Knicks, man, against those Bucks. I think finally Julius Randle had 40 piece. Didn't
Hey,
he?
I was going to message you yesterday and say, are you going to issue an official apology to Julius Randle? He was Player of the Week last week as well.
Yeah,
so
he's been playing
really
well.
Back in form, yeah.
He's been playing well. So yeah, I'm actually very concerned about that Bucks defense, man. That's one thing that's holding them back. And that win, Kristaps Porzingis is a big miss. You know, him not playing is, I think Celtics, one thing we've recognized and seen from this tournament is Bucks got to get their shit together on the defensive end, right? And in terms of the Celtics, they're going to go as far as Kristaps goes. The team doesn't look as strong without him in that lineup. What are your thoughts there?
About Kristaps?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think they lack a bit of that depth. I mean, obviously they lost a couple of Williamses, did they? I think Horford's been playing pretty well, but yeah, he's someone they'll really feel. I mean, you can't be playing a lot of Luke Cornett and some of these sort of guys. So yeah, they've obviously... And Porzingis is always a little bit of a worry with injuries and stuff like that. But no, just to go back to the in-season tournament, yeah, I've enjoyed it. I think they'll probably iron out a few things next year. I know there was a few things there that they were saying, obviously, it counts for the points and against there, so it was almost a bit of an advantage for teams that were playing their last games after other teams had played, because they were like, right, we know we have to get a certain amount of points, so they might have to do one of those things like you see. I don't know. I know you don't follow soccer that much, Woods, but the last round of the English Premier League, they basically play all the games at the same time, and that way teams sort of can't really change things. I mean, obviously you can check scores at half time and that, but maybe that'd be a good idea for the it's hard when there's five teams, so it doesn't quite work out with the teams there. But no, I think all in all it's been pretty good, and probably better than what I was thinking, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree with you. And if you look on the other side of the draw, the Pels have shown with Zion in form what they can do, Yeah. And excuse me, the Lakers, right? Let's talk about them. They have had an up and down season, but in a playoff kind of environment, when they've got to step up, they're shown what kind of team they can be. So I don't think we should worry too much about the Lakers in different form right now. What we need to worry about is how they're performing towards the end of the year. When it comes playoff time, you can probably trust them to make a push, right? And we've seen that.
Agreed. I like the way Austin Reeves looked in that game against Phoenix as well. You know what you're going to get from AD and LeBron, but I thought Reeves came up, hit some timely shots near the end, and yeah, they've got a bit of a team of mixed parts, don't they, the Lakers? Still perhaps finding their way, but yeah, bless you. But I like what they're doing together, and that'll be a big game for them. I mean, it's another sort of thing on LeBron's resume if they can win this. I know this isn't quite, as important as an NBA final, but yeah, anyway. Hey, maybe you're allergic to that Derrick Rose jersey.
Oh man, I just had a few allergies today. Okay, so give me a tips then. Who you got?
I'm going to go double upsets in those semis. I'm going to say Pacers and Pels in the final, and I'll say Pacers will win with scoring probably about 135 plus in both of those games, I'd say. So yeah, I'll say Pacers over the Pels. What about you?
I'm going to go Lakers and Bucks to win. Yeah?
Cool.
All right, so I thought I'd talk a little bit about Chicago, right? And we had a viewer's question come through from Matt Betros as well. He said, boys, been waiting to hear your thoughts on what the Bulls should be doing since their downfall and what destinations the players should end up at. So let's start off there and talk about your boy, Zach LaVine. I know they're open to trade discussions now with Zach LaVine. What do you think the future holds there?
It's an interesting one. It's hard for me to say anything bad against my boy Zach there, but I think probably if they are serious and potentially a little bit of a mini rebuild, they do need to get rid of him now while he's still got pretty good currency. He's got a pretty good resume under his belt now with All-Star games and stuff. I feel like you kind of know what you're going to get from Zach LaVine at this stage of his career. He's always been a little bit of an underwhelming defender, and I must say that just given how long and athletic the guy is. I always get a bit sort of peeved with guys like that. There's no reason. He's not undersized. He doesn't have short arms. He's not someone that can't jump. He should be an elite defender, and he's never really found that part of his game. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they can get for him on the open market. I've also heard reports that, Caruso is someone that teams could be offering, a first rounder for. Is that someone they want to sort of get rid of there? I know you'll have some other questions, but in terms of LaVine, yeah, look, I mean, I do like what he brings to the game, but I think potentially you could look at trading him and try and play some of the younger guys on this team a little bit more, guys like Io and even Kobe White and stuff like that, and potentially look to move him on. But yeah, I'd just be interested to know what his currency on the open market is now. Could you get another decent player and a first rounder from a team? Is that kind of what he's going to get back there, or are you looking at sort of more a first rounder and some bit type players? But, yeah, it'd be interesting.
I don't think there's a huge market for him, right? Because the kind of contract he's on isn't very favourable, right? One, and two, is he the type of guy that contributes to winning? He puts up great stats,
Yeah,
and I know you love him, and you know you can be a bit.
I do. I think ideally he's probably a number 3, right? I think all the time, with this Bulls team, he's been the number 1 or the number 2. I think if he's a number 3 option in a team, I think that's good because we've shown he can be a clutch player. He can hit big shots at the end of games and that. But I think if he was playing alongside, perhaps some better defenders and maybe being that third wheel there, that's probably what suits him best. But yeah, I agree though. I think his value isn't as high as maybe what some people might think.
Okay, so say the Bulls are now open to moving on from him, right? I mean, how far do you think this team can really go with like a star duo of DeMar DeRozan and Nikola Vucevic, right? I mean, they should be on the chopping block straight away as well, right? They need
not very far. I mean, I think DeMar might be out of contract at the end of this season there. I think with Vuce, he's another one at this stage of his career. You know what you're going to get from him. He's a pretty ordinary defender. He is a big that can stretch the floor, and there's definitely a place for him in this modern NBA. But yeah, I don't think any of those 3 guys are really moving you towards great success there. And one thing that does worry me a little bit about the Bulls there, Woods, I don't think they've got great young talent on that team. They seem to be one of the teams that's got a lot of veteran players and a few middle of the road players. And I mentioned guys like Io, Kobe White. I mean, it's not like Kobe White's young. He's been
Kobe White's been all right lately.
He has been playing well, sure.
Yeah, Zach LaVine been out for the last few games, hasn't he?
He has been. Well, that's the funny thing. We're talking about this now. They've won 3 in a row. So they come in on a 3-game win streak. I think they're 8-14 maybe at the moment. One guy as well, we're talking about younger players, someone like Patrick Williams would. I
was just about to say that, man.
He seems to me to be one of those players that's 1 year away from being good every season. So I'm not quite sure what to make of him. Is he someone that's, perhaps not as good as people think, or does he just have to get a little bit more opportunity? But he doesn't seem to have shown it. He's had opportunities so far and hasn't quite shown it. And what are your thoughts on him?
I think he's a bust. I mean, Stacey King was saying on his podcast earlier this week that, he's got a lot of potential. He's not a bust. He's going to get there. Because he's that prototype in the NBA that you want, long, athletic, can defend multiple positions. Supposedly he can shoot the 3, although his stats wouldn't back that up. Yeah. He's very enticing with someone of that skill set, right? But, he's been a bust so far. How many years has it been now? 3-4 years in the league, I think, if I'm not mistaken?
His 4th season now or something. Yeah, he doesn't seem to be able to stay healthy. It'd be interesting. I mean, maybe that's someone they really, if they were to trade LaVine and maybe really give him some minutes just to see if he's going to be part of, the future of this team.
He's asked for an extension, like some ridiculous extension money, right? He hasn't done enough to justify a spot on that roster. Is that fair to say?
I think it's true. I don't think other teams are going to be throwing money at him based on what he's achieved so far. So, you may need to adjust his expectations there, I guess.
And let's go back to Kobe White just quickly, right? The knock on him has been he's a bit of a Jordan Crawford type player, right? Likes to put up his shots. But in this new NBA, you can be a bit of a combo guard and still run the point guard position. I think he's shown that he has what it takes. Probably best off in a 6th-man role long term, I feel, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's worth investing in him. You said there's a lot of young players on this roster that are indifferent, right? Kobe White was one guy that's shown progression of late, and I think it's worth investing in him at least.
If it came to hair, he'd probably be an all-star, I'd say. I'd say he'd be pretty close to that. I agree. I think a 6-man spot is probably the best for him now. I mean, he's 23, so he's still very young in terms of NBA age there. I think if given that opportunity, and we've seen obviously with LaVine sitting out, he can put up some big numbers, can distribute pretty well. So I like him. I think he's probably someone they should keep there. He might be a team player that teams are trying to get, but he's someone that could be a face of their future anyway.
And let's not forget Lonzo Ball. Who knows if he's ever going to come back, ever play again?
Doesn't sound like it, does it?
The whole building of this roster surrounded around him, playing alongside these 3 guys as well, and that never eventuated. It's very easy to be harsh critic of the Bulls front office, which a lot of people have been, but they haven't had all their cattle, right? And
true. It's it's one of those spots that seems to be a hard place to get free agents. It's been like this for a while now as well. You're right about Lonzo Ball. I've always kind of liked the way he plays there, and he was starting to show some improvement. I think he was an improved shooter. We know he's always been a pretty good defender as well. So it is a big break. I mean, he was obviously a big part of what they were expecting their future to be. But I don't think we're going to be seeing him again from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, so I think they just need to lay the foundation here. They need to set a limit of time on their rebuild. If it takes 3-4 years, whatever. If it takes them that long to, find a proper superstar, as you said, that can lead them forward over the next sort of decade, then it'll take 3-4 years. But they need to set that time frame and work towards that time frame. I think that's, to answer your question, Matt, I think that's what the Bulls should look at doing over the next few seasons, right?
No, thanks for the question, Matt, as well.
Cool, man. All right. NBL. Shall we move on?
Should we spend like the next half an hour talking about that Wildcats-Kings game, or how much time can we get for that?
Okay, well, let's just start there, man. Why not, man? Your boy Bryce Cotton is is leading the way for MVP honors now, in my opinion. And people say, a lot of other people, CG 43, Alan Williams, Milton Doyle, but man, Bryce has turned it around, had a 40-piece, loves playing the Kings. I know better than anybody, right? Let's talk about his turnaround in form and how much of a positive impact it's had on your Wildcats.
Well, I think it's one of those things. He was certainly not playing his normal form. I think his last 5 games, I think these are his totals, 41, 25, 25, 37 and 24. So, a low of 24. He's still only at 37% shooting for the year, which is over 5% less than his career average. So I think he's still got room to improve in terms of efficiency there. But look, I think with the way he goes, there's no surprise that, the Wildcats are really back in form. And I think their season's right back on track now. I mean, they seem to have found the roster lineups as well. One thing I'd say about Bryce as well, Woods, I'm loving the passion that he's playing with, that aggression, driving to the hoop, the passion that he's playing with. We've seen him in some of those home games, and he's pumping up the crowd and stuff like that. Love when he's going about his business that way. So, I mean, he's one of the most exciting players to watch, if not the most exciting player in the NBL. Someone that, his size, that does what he does. And he's one of those players, when he launches one of those threes from the top of the key, I'm genuinely surprised when they miss. I really am. But look, I really did enjoy the game. I will say, obviously, the Kings embarrassed us a little bit when Perth came to town when I went with my family when you were overseas, actually. But yeah, it was good to see Perth bounce back in this one. And it was an interesting game. I thought it was quite a good, high-quality game. Some good shooting there. We saw Bolden have an absolute blinder of a game, didn't we? And I think it was the high score I think the Wildcats had scored all season as well. But no, very, very enjoyable game. I know it wasn't the result you wanted, but it was good to watch.
It was great. It was great. And I think the shooting splits you mentioned for Bryce were a lot worse after the first 5 games. So he's brought it back up to now to 37. So he's on that upward trajectory. So I expect that, as you said, that improvement to occur. And Jonah Bolden, what a great story. Did you expect that he'd be delivering like this so quickly upon his return? I mean, the guy's been on his laptop clicking his computer mouse on the cryptocurrency watch for the last 3 years, barely picked up a basketball. For him to be at this level so quickly, it's very impressive to see, right?
I mean, a few people have said it. I think the NBL Overtime crew might have mentioned it as well this week. I mean, he might be one and done in the NBL. He might be, if he can't find a spot in the NBA, which I don't see why he can't, at his size, he's sneaky big, isn't he? I mean, he's a legit, very close to 7 foot. He's a great shooter. He'll, play well with a really good, quality point guard in the NBA. But I think otherwise he'll be in Europe or even in Japan and big money.
I'd agree.
Make the most of Woods. Buy that Bolden jersey and make the most of it, I guess. Right?
Yeah, I need to get one, man. I got to say, I really like this Wildcats team. Even from the preseason, I've been saying I liked them. I love Doolittle. I love Bryce Cotton. I love Keanu Pinder. I just love this team. So I've not always been the biggest keen watcher of Wildcats basketball over the years, as you know. But this team, I'd actually turn on the TV to watch them play all the time. So
hang on, are you saying that they're your second favourite team now, or Cairns still your second favourite?
Cairns still my second favourite team. But
third favourite.
Wildcats would be my third team to tune in to watch, man, for sure.
You know who my second favourite team is, Woods?
Definitely not Sydney.
No, the Wildcats. Number 1, 2 and 3 favourite for me. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. So there's been a little bit of movement, man, in the league. Obviously, we heard Coach Jacob Jacomas, a good friend of the show, was released a few weeks back. And CJ Bruton has followed suit. So I'm just going to read a quick quote. In a statement released on Wednesday morning, the 36ers said the club and Bruton had mutually decided to part ways. We thank CJ for his tireless efforts both on and off the court, but we believe it's time to go in a new direction. Adelaide 36ers Chief Executive Nick Vabado said, "If you look at the results of the last couple of years, it's been very inconsistent. We've invested a lot of resources into the club, and we haven't got the outcomes that we wanted for our members or for our fans." Speak on that, man.
Well, mutually agreed. I'm never a big fan of those words. I mean, come on, he's basically been fired and they try and put that in a press conference to make it sound better. Let's be straight up with that, right? I think teams are doing that a lot now, mutually agree to part ways and stuff. I reckon that's BS, right? I think a coach always wants to stay in a team there. But yeah, look, it wasn't a massive surprise, I guess. That's interesting, what 20% of the league's coaches have been mutually parted ways now this season. It was a pretty brutal road double last week, and all the talk that is coming out that he really had lost the locker room a little bit there. I think he told some of the veteran players that perhaps their minutes were going to be really coming down. I think that was mentioned on the NBL the daily podcast today as well, that potentially guys like Sunday Detch and Mitch McCarron, those sort of guys, were told that they were playing less minutes there. So look, it's a shame to see it. He's a guy that had pretty much success everywhere that he went as a player, but it just really didn't translate it to his time as a coach, did it?
No, it didn't. And I mean, he didn't necessarily get the best hand dealt to him, in that first year with those imports that he had, Dusty.
Well, he's gone from having the worst imports that first year, probably the worst imports ever, to last year having, on paper at the start of the year, 3 absolute guns. Obviously, one didn't work out, but, Antonius, Cleveland and Franks, I mean, you should be getting a team into the playoffs just alone with those 2 guys. Well, what did you think of their recruitment this year?
I mean, not great. I mean, you think about it, they brought in Trenton Flowers to be a point guard out of position, right? Their import, Jamal Franklin, was let go before even the season started. Jacob Wiley, he's serviceable. I've got to admit, he's good. He's a good third import, right?
Yeah.
And then Trey Kell, we know he can play, but his questionable injury history has reared itself again this season after last season, right? So I don't think they've got the right pieces in place. They weren't organized at the start of the season. And by all reports, CJ was given, a lot of input into those decisions that were made, So
so that's got to fall back a bit on him, right?
Got to fall back on him, definitely. And let's speak about the guy coming in. Sixers legend Scott Ninnis, who was coach for a little while, I think 13, 14 years ago, and I can't remember what the year was, but he has previously been the coach of the Adelaide 36ers. And look, to your point about this mutual decision between the club and the coach, Scott Ninnis said this about CJ. CJ's pretty matter-of-fact about it, and he's disappointed, and we move on in his said. Now, CJ wouldn't be disappointed if it was mutual.
It was a mutual agreement, 100%. That's why they just need to be straight up with these things. Firstly, I hope Scott Ninnis brings back that great flat top he had back in the day. I've got visions of him in that number 6 Adelaide jersey, driving baseline and just throwing it down big guys. So, I like the way he played back in the day. But, Woods, I want to talk about that sulking that the 36ers did about this road trip on the weekend.
Okay, honestly, I'm waiting for it.
I'm going to be straight up. I'm going to drop the hammer on this one. That was embarrassing, right? They had this sulk. I'm not just saying it because I'm really not a fan of DJ Vasiljevic, but for those guys to go to a press conference and openly complain to the NBL for the scheduling and everything else like that, let's be honest, right? They had a full day between games, right? And I don't think you're doing massive travelling. You're talking about Adelaide going to New Zealand and Tasmania. I mean, I've got a globe of the world thing up there. New Zealand and Tasmania look pretty close on there to me. I know there's some talk that, maybe you can't always get direct flights from Adelaide to these places, but come on, that was just embarrassing the way. What about the Doomsday Double back in the day when I was watching the NBL as a kid in the 80s, where teams would go to Adelaide and play on the Friday night and then go to Perth and play on the Saturday night? You didn't have a night in between those games there. So I thought that came across really poorly, and they were trying to almost put in a bit of an excuse for that. What it ended up being a 35-point loss or something like that there. I thought that was pretty poor form, to be honest. What was your take on that?
Look, having that negative mindset already, an excuse ready if they lost, you could just tell. And both CJ and DJ at the press conference, it wasn't a great look. And look, to be fair, it wasn't the greatest. I saw what the schedule was and where their flights were and everything. It wasn't the greatest. But New Zealand have to do it all the time. I mean, Damon Lowry, I think it was, who said this. I think Leonard Copeland might have said this. What about the New Zealand Breakers? They spent 2 years in this country,
100%.
Not being able to go home, right? And they didn't complain. They just got on with it, right? Sure, it might not have been the best road trip, but at the same point, you've got to stay positive. These road trips are also an opportunity for you to bond together with your teammates, whether it be at airports, in the hotels, spend some time, build some unity amongst each other, and you see the positive in it. Look, we're going to give it our all, We're not going to let this difficult road trip affect our mindset towards how we approach the game. Yeah. So I think that has to change completely, and I think DJ Vasiljevic, I love the guy as a Sydney King, but he's a leader on this team, right? And he's been given a lot of responsibility, so he needs to set an example that the younger guys are going to follow, right?
Look, it wasn't like it was a road trip where Adelaide had to fly to Perth and then basically the next day fly to Cairns and play or something like that. As I said, New Zealand to Tasmania wouldn't be the longest flight in the world, and they had a full day in between. So, yeah, I think probably too much was spoken about that. And it's a good point you raised there. These should be the sort of things where teams, galvanise and find that strength between them. It seemed like it maybe had the absolute opposite effect this weekend with him potentially losing the locker room and everything like that. So one thing you can show, I know we're going to do our predictions soon, Adelaide will be a lock to win this week, right? Because of the new coach theory in every sport. So put all your money, bet your house and your car and all your life savings on Adelaide to win this week.
I think that theory might work. Look, actually, while we're talking about that, we spoke about Scott and SE. We talked about CJ Bruton saying that to some of the experienced vets that they're gonna their court time's gonna take a hit or whatever you mentioned earlier, right? Well, Scott and SE has just come out and said more game time will be given to young players, including Nick Marshall, Trenton Flowers, meaning tough calls on squad members. And his words were, there'll be some tough conversations there, and that's just the way it is. We've got to get better, and we've got to be able to win in a set. So I think Scott Ninnis is going to come in and straight away, make some of these changes and get some youth into the team. So I think that's the right way for them to go, correct?
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Southeast Melbourne. Craig Moller with a season-ending knee injury. Big Source was on the Overtime show the other day, and he talked about some of the intangibles he brings you can't replace. He's that glue guy. He can play he plays the 3 spot, but he can guard, 3 through 5. He's the guy who doesn't do all the stuff that always shows up on the stat sheet, but he wins ball games for you, right? What kind of impact is that going to have?
Yeah, I mean, look, on paper you see Moller, he's averaging, I think, 6 points, 5 rebounds or something like that on 42% shooting. So not exactly amazing numbers that jump out, but he averages around 25 minutes court time a game. As you mentioned, very versatile defender. Then he can guard a number of positions. So I think he will definitely be an important out there for Southeast. They seem to have had some issues with injuries this year, all sort of unrelated ones there. So a bit of a shame for them, but I guess it's an opportunity for next man up. And yeah, obviously, Big Source is going to probably have a little bit more things on his shoulders, his big shoulders now as well, I guess.
Yeah, look, and Daniel Johnson's just left the team. Gorjak Gak has come back and rejoined the team. So they've got a full roster there. One thing I want to raise with you, I know Mark Worthington was saying it the other day, Chris Anstey, those guys. Do you believe Ryan Broekhoff is actually retired? Do you think that if the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix put a call out to him right now and said, look, we'd like to join you on our playoff push right now,
maybe
he would consider it?
Perhaps it could be a little bit more than meets the eye with his story. We know he came out last year with the mental health stuff, and that we wish him all the best with that. So maybe that's the thing there. Maybe he's like, mentally, and I think he's got a young family and that he's just not up for the grind of doing that now. He's obviously played a long time, but yeah, he'd be a pretty handy player to bring back in for a playoff series. I mean, you'd assume that he'd be staying fit, and someone like him probably isn't going to lose his shooting ability overnight. So yeah, interesting to see if there's any thought about that later in the year.
Yeah, let's see how it all plays out. Southeast Melbourne are going to be, contenders, at least to make that top 4, and anything can happen from there, right? So,
yeah.
All right, let's move on. I want to just go through the round very quickly. I know we're recording this episode on Thursday night, the 7th of December, so you'll already know the result for the game tonight by the time you hear this recording. But Thursday night basketball, Cairns Taipans versus Sydney Kings. Talk to me, man.
Well, I know you're excited for this one, so your first and second teams there. I think Sydney kind of need a win here, don't they? What have they lost? 2
Definitely,
in a row?
man. 2 in a row, yeah.
Showing a few little sort of, I wouldn't say issues there, but a few things that maybe they need to sort of iron out. I think Sydney will win this one, but in saying that, Cairns obviously getting that big upset. I believe that was in Melbourne last week, right? The Cairns game there. So I know your boy Tajir McCall, if he can continue to shoot like he did, in that round last week, I mean, they could really go far. So I think this should be a good game. Actually, I know you're looking forward to watch it. I'll probably watch a bit of it. I've got a game on tonight. I know you're ditching us, but I'll go out and try and get us a win, and then come back and watch the second half. But yeah, Sydney for me.
Yeah, me too, marginally. But I mean, Cairns played so well against Melbourne last week, man, right? Yeah. And they're getting it together. And I'm going to make a big call here. Patrick Miller's the second best import in this league after Bryce Cotton, man. This guy's played all over the world. He makes great decisions. He's automatic from the mid-range. What do you have, 32 points, 10 assists the other day, I really like what he brings to the table. The bodyguard, right?
Second best import's a big call. I'd have to do a bit of thoughts about that. But yeah, I do like the way the guy that plays. I mean, he feels like he should just be on an NFL field somewhere. He's just an absolute tank of a guy.
I take him over Parker Jackson Cartwright. I take him over Milton Doyle, right?
Yeah. What about your high-profile imports to the Kings?
Yeah, okay, all right. Jalen Adams is in the conversation. Jalen Adams, DJ Herger in the conversation. Okay, maybe I'm being a bit nice, but I just think he's a fantastic player and a great acquisition.
If he dominates tonight and everyone's listening to this tomorrow, and when we drop the episode, he'll look like a really good call. So just leave it there. Leave
it there. Recency bias watching him play. I really enjoyed what he did against Melbourne the other day. In fact, what the Cairns Taipans did really well, coach. Hey, quickly, Josh Roberts. Oh my God, come in. Yeah. Let's talk about it. I mean, I knew this guy was going to be a double-double, walking double-double. I said in the season preview, right? Yep. The way he played in Div 1 college, he's a beast. The way he did in the NBA games early in the season. And a lot of people said, Adam Ford, stroke of genius getting him into the starting lineup. My question to you, stroke of genius or bad decision to leave him on the end of the bench this long?
It's a good call, isn't it? Yeah, you wonder what to go with that. I mean, there hasn't been anyone said that he perhaps had an injury or something else like that. But considering they did have players out, didn't they, Can? So you wonder what was going on there. But yeah, it's an interesting one to throw into the fold now. Probably a lot of teams haven't scouted him too much because he hasn't had many minutes there. So yeah, he could be an important player in that big game tonight.
And you should have seen him at the press conference afterwards. By all accounts. Great attitude, never complained. This is his first professional gig out of college. Just took it on the chin and waited for his opportunity, and he was ready. And that counts for a lot, character, doesn't it?
Hey, just on that, have you been going into these press conferences and asking any questions this season yet? Or?
No, I haven't in a bit, man.
Mate, get onto it. Get onto it.
All right,
you did a good job last year asking a couple of questions. So yeah,
thanks, man. I should,
represent the Throwback Hoops. Yeah.
Good point. All right, Illawarra vs Perth tomorrow night, Friday night basketball.
Yeah, a very random 7:30 game time. So this, I know Nathan Stewie, shout out to the boys, the sports blokes, might be loving the start time of this. I mean, this is a 4:30 start time in Western Australia. So, looking forward to this. I know Illawarra always give us a little bit of a good game down there. It's a standalone as well, isn't it? So it's weird for Perth to have that standalone here. I think we've a few standalone weeks for them. I mean, it's hard not to tip the Wildcats coming in there, but I think Illawarra will probably put up a pretty good fight. I think this could be a closer game maybe than what people might think.
I think so. They've looked good under Coach Tatum. I can't see them winning. I see Perth winning by around 10, but they'll be competitive, right? So,
yeah, true.
All right, so Saturday we got the doubleheader starting off at Spark Arena in New Zealand versus the Tassie Jack Jumpers. Who you got there? New Zealand are favourites in that one. See that?
Will Tassie be okay flying to New Zealand? That's not going to be too far like it was for Adelaide. Is Milton Doyle out for that game?
Yeah, he is. He's out.
So he's flying back home for the.
He's out.
Rest in peace for his father who's passed away. So
he's out.
Yeah, I mean that almost just makes me think New Zealand straight away. New Zealand are favourites for this game. I think their last 6 games have been lost, win. Lost their last game, New Zealand, so maybe that means a win this week. But yeah, I think New Zealand in this one. I like watching Lamb play. He's pretty entertaining.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, I'll say the Breakers in this one.
I'm going to go with Tassie. I think they can cover Milton Doyle with Jack McVeigh and others there. So, Tassie. All right. Adelaide versus Cairns on Saturday. Now, I'm going to go with Cairns. I just think, I know you're saying the new coach coming in, etc.
100%.
But I can't see them. I mean, they lost by 40 the other day or something like that, 35, can they come back from that?
This Cairns schedule is pretty brutal, isn't it? They'll have doubles. I think it's 6 rounds in a row or something like that. So I mean, it could be good or bad. And this is another thing, like we mentioned, I think maybe on last week's show. I don't know what teams are going to put their hand up for these, NBA crossover preseason type games. And I mean, like we said last time, it's the preseason for the NBA. It's during our season here. So this has meant a really condensed schedule for Cairns playing these double games. But no, I'm sticking with my theory, coach. The new coach theory. It's interesting. There's no odds for this game, so maybe the betting agencies are scared of the new coach theory as well, so they don't even want to put odds on it. Yeah, but Adelaide for me.
All right, cool. Melbourne vs Brisbane, Sunday, first game of a doubleheader on Sunday.
Geez, Melbourne will be up for this game, won't they? They were pretty ordinary in that game Sunday against Cairns last week. I mean, look, I think potentially Brisbane's bigs could give Melbourne a little bit of trouble there. I like that 3-headed monster with, Harrison, Bainesy and Big Rocco there for Brisbane. But, I think probably a little bit too much on the line for Melbourne there, and they'll come out and get the win at home.
Ian Clark may be back this week as well, which will add to their add to that roster, right? Yeah. And finally, I'm going out on Sunday, if I can get out of Christmas shopping. I think I can. Sydney versus Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, man. Sydney at home. I think Sydney will do the doubles this weekend. This week, this round.
A decent game, this, isn't it? Southeast. I mean, both teams are on a double, aren't they? No, sorry, Southeast just got the one game. Sydney's on the double. Yeah, look, I think I'm probably right. Sydney will get the 2 wins in a row this weekend and be right back up there. But probably if this isn't the game of the round, it's probably close, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. I think tonight's going to be the game of the round. It's going to be a really good game on the back of what Cairns did against Melbourne. Sydney really needing the win. It's going to be a fun game to watch tonight. Yeah. So almost all teams have played 14, 15 games at the end of this round. We're really pretty much at the halfway point. So interesting storylines that lie ahead.
Hey, I'm going to put you on the spot, Woods. You've got 5 seconds to answer this. Who's going to be the next NBL expansion team?
Gold Coast.
All right. I'm going to say Canberra. Cool.
Okay. All right, so I've got the classic packs is back. I've got the 1993 Skybox this time. Yeah?
Yep. Have we done these before? Is this
I don't think we have.
Another one of the random ones. Is this a pack courtesy of our boy Sid? Or is this one that you acquired?
No, it could have been from someone else, actually.
Okay,
so,
nice.
I can't remember who sent this to me.
Appreciate anyone that's sending in the packs. We love doing this.
Oh, man.
Hopefully we get a good pack this week. And no Danny Mannings, please.
Okay, this guy is known for his flexibility. Very flexible. Ex-Atlanta Hawk player. could contort his bodies in many ways.
The Plastic Man.
The Plastic
Stacey
Man.
Augman. Oh,
Stacey
that's a great start.
Augman.
I remember this set well. Yeah, show me the back of those woods. They're a nice looking card, those ones. They're nice.
Yeah,
big
they're
picture
beautiful.
at the back. Yeah, that's a real nice card. That's a great start. Loving that.
Underrated point guard on those Bulls championship winning teams. Played with Cleveland, the LA Clippers, the LA Lakers. His son's playing, following in his footsteps. A guy that you had a lot of time for. Played with Danny Manning and Charles Smith on those Clippers teams.
A point guard, you said.
Okay, this guy.
Oh, Winston Garland.
No, this guy was angry that Craig Elo guarded MJ on the shot. He felt he should be the one guarding MJ. He was at Cleveland at the time.
Interesting.
Come on.
This one.
How are you blanking on this one? Okay, this guy, he started on those Bulls 97, those Bulls three-peat, on the second three-peat. He started at the point guard position.
So not BJ, he didn't play for the Clippers.
No. So he had Scottie Pippen, Tony Kukoc, Luke Longley, this guy as well, starting. Who started at that point guard position? He's in rap lyrics. He's in a rap song. And I've spat the rap song before. It doesn't even number 4.
Oh, of course, Ron Harper. Yeah, sorry, blanking there.
Ron Harper.
When he was saying he wanted to guard Jordan, he was probably stuttering, so that's probably why I forgot that. But yeah, shout out to Ron Harper, and I have rocked his jersey, so that was a long time for me to get that clue.
Great center on those Blazers teams, man, in the 90s, man. Underrated, just a machine on the glass.
Buck Williams?
No.
Oh, is this a rest in peace?
Rest in peace. He's no longer with us anymore.
Is he wearing like a really random number like 00?
Yes, he does.
Is it Mr. Duckworth? Yeah.
Kevin Duckworth. Rest in peace to the legend.
Big man. He was a big unit. What's his listed height and weight on that one? Woods? He was always someone that probably looked bigger than what he was.
7 foot 280.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. 7 foot 280.
Okay,
he'd be the heaviest guy in the league. I think if he was in the league at the moment. 280. Wow.
You talk about who started at point guard on the second three-peat. Okay. This guy was the starting point guard on the first three-peat. He's had a great career as a player agent after playing. Very intelligent, well-spoken man.
John Paxson?
No. Oh, no. No, John Paxson. This guy's a combo guy, right? Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Player agent, you said.
Player agent, yeah.
Oh, BJ Armstrong.
BJ Armstrong. Yeah.
Nice.
He did play the 2 spot, but he could slide down to the 1, couldn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, that all-star one resume of his is still a strange one. Bless you again. You might be allergic to your dogwoods. You might need to get rid of Skittles.
Nah. I've been doing this all day, man. Okay.
Really? Not good.
Phoenix Suns legend, number 23 forward. Just a walking bucket. Played for the Lakers afterwards. You've got his jersey. You've worn his jersey on the show.
Mr. Sabalos.
Cedric Sabalos.
Nice. I do like these cards, I've got to say. I think I might have the full set of these in one of the covers. But yeah, they're always a nice looking set, these ones.
This guy rapped with Foosh Nickens. One of the most dominant big men to ever play the game.
So it wasn't Christian Laettner or Alonzo Mourning, it was
Shaq. Not a Christian Laettner, not Alonzo Mourning. Who was it?
Shaq, yeah, nice. Ooh, that's a nice card to get. What year is this? This is like a year, he's not a year
93, 94.
Oh yeah, probably like
second 92, 93 was rookie year, right?
Nice.
Okay, we've got this great back. We got this guy's card before. One of the great shooting guards of all time. Michael Jordan said there's no way this guy's better than me, right?
Number 22, Clyde Drexler.
We got his card last week, I think, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Nice. Is that a Hawks player guarding him there?
That is... it's a Miami Heat player.
Miami Heat.
Can't really see his number.
Yeah.
Okay, we love this guy, okay? He was named after a color because as a baby, he always turned his color.
Hey, it's funny. When I was looking through which jerseys I was going to rock, I couldn't remember if I'd rocked the Theodore Columbus jersey. I have, haven't I?
You have.
Answers that, but yeah, I'm a big fan of that guy. He was a big favourite of mine back in the day. So this is an amazing pack. Stacey Augman, Blue Edwards, loving it.
Okay, we've got a really crappy checklist here.
It's time to do something, Woods.
Yeah, I can't chuck it on the ground because Skittles is here. But these are hard to rip up.
I haven't had to rip up a card for a while, so it's gone.
It's gone. All right. NBA on NBC special card. This guy would sweat in the snow. Okay?
Pat.
I'm talking about
Big Pat.
Patrick Ewing.
Nice, that's a pretty cool card, isn't it? And what's the deal with that card? What are they talking about?
Patrick Ewing's numbers: 28 points, 10 rebounds, 3 block shot in Game 4 versus Charlotte, helped put the Hornets on the brink of elimination in the best-of-7 series that featured the matchup of Ewing versus Mourning, 2 former Georgetown greats and friends. Mourning couldn't handle his mentor in this game, however, as Ewing and the Knicks won a thriller 94-92.
Oh, good action card there.
Okay, forward from the Miami Heat. He's not short, but he is
Grant Long.
Grant
43,
Long.
right?
Yeah.
43? Yeah.
Yep.
Nice, former Atlanta Hawk as well.
Yep. Philadelphia 76ers guard, number 12. Really liked his game. Quick driving point guard, left-hander with a good jump shot range.
Oh, Johnny Dawkins.
Johnny Dawkins.
It's always Johnny Dawkins and Hersey Hawkins. So that's cool. Man, I'm loving that old Philly jersey on that one too.
That was a really good pack. Those jerseys remind me of Clarence Weatherspoon, by the way. I remember him wearing
Barros.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a really good pack there. So what do we have? We had Patrick Ewing, we had Shaq, we had a couple of my favourites in Stacey Augman, Theodore Blue Edwards. No real obscure players there, right?
No, Kevin Duckworth, BJ Armstrong, Ron Harper.
Yep.
Man, that's a really good pack, man, you know?
Very impressive. That makes up for that bad one we had the other week, right?
Yeah, for sure. All right, man, it's been a really good episode. A lot of exciting things to come. Obviously, the summer break's coming now. We're going to have a 100th special episode. Why don't you take the audience out quickly with, all that jazz, where we can be found, followed, Patreon, all of that.
Yeah. So we can be followed on Twitter. So how about I start calling it X next year after the 100th episode? So we'll still call it Twitter for now. Throwbacks Hoops. On Instagram, we're at throwback.hoops. And of course, our email, throwbackhoopspodcast@gmail.com. I'm sure Woods will be posting these cool jerseys that I'm rocking. I don't think you did last week's one.
I haven't, man. I've been travelling for work. I apologise.
We'll put those out when you're sitting home watching the game, when I'm sweating running up and down the court tonight. And then I'll get these ones through because I'm sure people would love to see a Hersey Hawkins throwback there. Obviously, Patreon. We mentioned this before, but if you like the podcast and you're willing to pledge a little bit of support to us for a couple of dollars a month, it'd be much appreciated and would help us with all the expenses associated with the podcast. That's about it, right?
Yeah, that's it, man. Really excited about what's to come over the next few weeks. Once again, thanks to all our loyal supporters and listeners. And until next week, from Robbie, I, and the Throwback Hoops crew, peace out.